I forgot about recording. So just for the purposes of recording, we start here. These are the things we'll cover. A 5-session series. This is who we have. Okay, I'm caught up. I know half of you here and on the bridge. For the people who don't know me, I changed my name to Pankaj.ai because I grew up in the .com era in Silicon Valley, and they were pets and pets.com, and the valuation jumped, right? So I figured if I change my name to Pankaj.ai, my valuation will go up. I'm still waiting. I've been an entrepreneur. I started a few businesses inside Intel and Qualcomm. Now my full-time job is an investor. That's a lot of fun. I'm advisor, partner at a number of VC firms. I'm an advisor at Brink. That's how I know many of you. I also teach. That's how I know Farhad. He took my class. He still comes to my trainings, so I must have done something right. Yes? Okay. And Riley is here. Riley is taking a class this semester. And, I won good awards. Okay. So let's talk about the AI tsunami. So folks, if you are chatting, I cannot see. So Pratyusha, you want to track chatting? How do I do that? Just give us a second. Yeah. You must be a host now. Can you?
No, but I think you.
Host disabled participant screen sharing. Oh, you disabled my screen sharing?
Accidentally.
I was being nice to Pratyusha. Just give us a second, guys. We are shortchanged. Steve is not here and IT is not here.
Yeah, I think you should be the host again. Constance, can we go to Constance?
Let's not worry about it. Okay.
I just tell you.
Okay. Can you see the questions?
Yeah.
Okay. So guys, Pratyusha is here. She'll help us curate the questions. So ask away. Okay. So are we in an AI bubble? Let's take a quick poll. On the bridge, if you think we are in an AI bubble, just say yes in chat. If you think the answer is no, let's say no in chat. Let's take a quick poll. In the room, are we in an AI bubble? One and a half. Anne-Marie, you have to make a decision. Okay. So one person thinks we are in an AI bubble. So we have 12 people in the room. One thinks we are in an AI bubble. On the bridge, maybe 20% think we are in an AI bubble. Okay. I'm very black and white because maybe means no, right? No, we are not in an AI bubble. We are creating a new curve. Electricity was a new curve. Internet was a new curve. AI is a new curve. trying to match AI curve with what happened before is now not how things, I don't know what this is, is not how things work in my mind. So I took some data points because you can argue with my opinion. You cannot argue with facts. So, if you think internet grew fast, just ChatGPT is growing 7 times faster than internet. So we are like, if you think about ChatGPT years, 1 year is equal to 7 internet years. If you look at the top 10 S&P companies, over the last 10 years, the valuation has gone up 6 times. And 6 of those companies are new companies. These are generally Mag 7 companies. They did not exist. They were not in the top 10. Like these companies, the one in purple, they were not in the top 10 just 10 years ago. This is driven by internet and AI. If you look at who's funding the investments, it's mostly hyperscalers, and they are funding from the cash flow they are generating from their businesses. If you look at the amount of cash flow they are generating, very different from what we have seen in the past. Just because our stock goes up 15 times in 3 years does not mean it is overvalued, right? We are all rational people. Stocks go up because earnings go up, right? Stock prices related to PE. So if earnings go up, the P goes up. NVIDIA is undervalued today because the PE ratio today is lower than what it has been over the last 5 years. And if you look at this chart, I love the chart. The stock price is kind of rising with earnings. So no, the NVIDIA is not in a bubble. I worked with this consulting firm. It took me almost a year to convince them that we are in a 6 or 7 trillion infrastructure race. If I wrote about it, nobody would listen. But if this consulting firm writes about it, everybody listens, right? So it's not me saying it anymore. It's McKinsey saying we are in a 7 trillion infrastructure race. And then Exponential View guys, if you want the link to this article, just ping me. They published a very good analysis, basically saying capex to GDP is low, revenue growth, cash flow growth is very high, PE ratios are low, not just NVIDIA, but for other companies. And the quality of funding is high compared to past infrastructure deployments. So for all those reasons, I do not think we are in a bubble. We are on a new curve, and trying to fit the new curve to past trends doesn't work. I'll throw another data point at you guys. Anybody know what 13.3 trillion is? Anybody? Riley, what is 13.3 trillion? Lot of money. If I look at Mag 7, the day ChatGPT came out, November 22, was worth 7.7 trillion. Over the last 3 years, it has tripled. And as of Friday, it is 21 trillion. We have added 13.3 trillion to the market cap of Mag 7. I think that's primarily because of the AI expectations and opportunity, right? So that seems like a big number. But guess what? It's a very small number. So what I did was, at different points in time, I mapped a Mag 7. So you think going from 7 to 21, 3x in 3 years is big? If you look at what mobile and cloud did, from the time iPhone came out to the time ChatGPT launched, 15 years, these things went up 30x. So you could say 30x is the proxy for growth driven by internet, cloud, and mobile. 3x doesn't look that crazy right now, right? By the way, if you look at the first browser, Mozilla browser in 94, Netscape in 95, from that time to iPhone launch, that's 12 years. Mag 7 went up 10 times. We can say that was driven primarily by PC and internet, right? So I will show other ways to get to the numbers we are talking about. History does not repeat, history rhymes. I don't see this 2.7x as some crazy bubble number, okay? So I believe we are absolutely not in a bubble. We are perhaps at the end of the beginning. We are nowhere close to the beginning of the end. I will describe what happens over the next 15 years and how this is a 100 plus trillion opportunity. Right now, we are single digit trillions, okay? So what's a good way to think about what's happening in AI? You know, I grew up in the internet era. I was in Silicon Valley when internet was happening. On the infrastructure side, basically, data centers were CPU-centric because it was all data processing. Now, with internet, it is GPU-centric because AI workloads are massively parallel processors. You know, the latest NVIDIA platform has 64,000 cores. Your CPU has maybe 8, okay? So when you have all these parallel cores, or all these cores, you are able to compute in parallel. What? Meeting is ending in 1 minute? Is the meeting ending in 1 minute for you guys?
No indication of that here.
Not for me.
Are you joining from the? Okay. So guys, if we get disconnected, Pratyusha, you have everybody's email? Okay. Can you get everybody's email? Do you have everybody's email? Can you put Zoom in chat? Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's just play with us, guys. Pratyusha is putting the new Zoom. Please copy it. And
We're back.
okay, sorry about that.
I don't see a timer on this Zoom, so that's good.
Yeah, no, this is indefinite. So Pratyusha said, we can stay as long as we want.
Always infinite AI.
Okay, I hope we didn't lose everybody.
Yeah, if you can send a blast out on the invite with the new Zoom link. Or Yusha, if you have that handy. Looks like we lost
Yeah.
about 25 people on Zoom.
Yeah, maybe some will join. I don't know. Crazy.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, why don't we get going? Pratyusha is recording now. Okay, we have people joining. Okay, Benton, you can hear me, right?
All good.
Okay, all right. So guys, internet was CPU-centric data center. With AI, you need large-scale parallel processing. So it's GPU-centric data center, and you need language model. When you go to the edge, how did you access the internet? From your PC and from your phone. Those were the primary means. How do you access AI? On your PC, on your phone? Increasingly, you'll see wearable devices proliferating. Lots of devices in the IoT space, robots, drones, cameras, sensors, humanoids, and then autonomous vehicles. So the number of endpoints you will use to access the AI in the cloud are going to be much, much broader. And then internet created horizontal layers around, one of you, Dina, can you hear me? Okay. So internet created horizontal layers around web things, right? Web security, web analytics, DevOps, these kind of things. When we go to AI, doesn't work. You need a totally different infrastructure around AI, around agentic platforms, around AI ops. Internet transformed retail. It transformed financial services. It transformed search. It did not transform every sector out there. Like the penetration of internet and cloud in healthcare globally is about 3%. Across enterprise, global penetration of internet is 7 to 8%. In the US, we are spoiled, it's 25, 26%. But it's only 25, 26%, right? AI will disrupt every vertical.
That's at 8 o'clock, right?
Okay. So AI is not just retail, not just some verticals. AI will disrupt every vertical. In the next session, I will talk about how it is already doing that with specific examples, not theoretical examples. And how do you get to end user in the enterprise or in the consumer? If you just have the data center, as an end user, you don't talk to the data center. You need a device, you need the software infrastructure, you need the application, and then you talk to the user, right? So in the infrastructure cloud space, internet, we deployed infrastructure ahead of supply. That's why in 2020, Cisco went down because they were deploying before demand was there. AI is very different. We cannot fill demand that is there. The more we deploy, the more we consume. We are still not able to meet demand. Then edge devices, again, there are many, many endpoints to access AI for consumer and enterprise. And again, I talked about the software infrastructure is totally new, and then every vertical sector will benefit. So the question is, how big could, here, the top layers, that's how we will see the benefit. The question is, how big could that be? And I spent a couple of days with this company last week. They are rolling out this report, basically based on clients they have. What they're seeing is, if I'm very good at my job, I am 1x. If you deploy an agent in sales, in marketing, in customer support, maybe the overall productivity jumps to 2 to 3x. But if you make the entire enterprise agentic, these guys in early deployments are seeing 10 to 20% productivity improvement. Just think about that. If you think about on a global scale, 10% productivity improvement, excuse me, not 10%, 10x productivity improvement. That's a game changer, right? So there is so much interest in agentic enterprise, having multiple agents work with each other, have agents running the full enterprise, having agents running the Knaus business school. 10 times, and Marie, you'll be able to do other things when that happens. But that's a game changer, right? So we are not talking 10%, 20%. We are talking 10 times, 20 times. That's like 1,000%, 2,000%. This is my own analysis. If I look at, not correct. If I look at next 15 years, 25 to 40, the cumulative global economy is 2,500 trillion. It's like 2.5 quadrillion. Is it fair to assume that we can, with AI, we can drive 5% incremental GDP? That's 5%. That's 125 trillion. If you look at 10%, that is twice that. So the question is, with mobile internet cloud over the last 30 years, how much GDP growth is attributed to these technologies? That's data, that's fact, right? 9%. 9. So, and 9% comes from, well, the IT industry transformed, retail transformed, agriculture did not transform, etc., etc. But if you take 30 years cumulative, it's 9%, right? I don't think anybody would disagree that AI impact will be bigger than internet mobile cloud, right? More than 9%. But just to keep it conservative, 5 to 10% is 125 to 250 trillion of value, right? I'm going to put this in perspective with the 6 or 7 trillion infrastructure deployment, okay? The other analysis we have done is, with the internet, for every dollar of value created in the infrastructure, $5 of value were created for edge devices, PCs and smartphones. And $25 of value were created in apps and services. So, you know, Google is apps and services, Meta is apps and services, Amazon is apps and services. The horizontal layers, you know, Salesforce is apps and services, etc. If you add up, the ratio is 1:5:25. Again, this is a fact. Nobody can argue with me on this, right? It is supported by a spreadsheet. It is actual. Looking ahead, the math we have done says, in AI, for every dollar of value in cloud infrastructure, I call it cloud AI, there will at least be $10 of value in the edge. Because we are going from not just PC and smartphone, we are going to all kinds of IoT devices, right? So much discussion around robots and drones and cameras and sensors and humanoids and so on. If you have ridden Waymo or Tesla, it's a game changer. Again, I'm not talking this quarter, this year. I'm talking this decade, next decade, right? And for every dollar of value in the infrastructure, I believe we will create $100 of value across all of that enterprise and consumer sectors. Again, internet was 1 to 25. If you look at what AI will do to healthcare, what AI will do to construction, what AI will do to mining, what AI will do to education, what AI will do to sectors that have remained untouched with internet, this is crazy, right? So if I superimpose the two, first, NVIDIA is saying 3 to 4 trillion data center, 100 trillion enterprise. If you use my math, 5% to 10% of global economy over the next 15 years, that's 125 to 250. So I believe, this is my commitment. I believe we will see 1 to 2 trillion in cloud, 10 to 20 in edge. By the way, data centers are used in both cloud and edge. We'll talk about that. And 100 to 200 across applications, right? So if you think NVIDIA OpenAI deal, $100 billion is big, you haven't seen anything yet. If you think $2.7 trillion of data center commitments just this year, in front of our esteemed president is big. We are just getting started, right? So you have to take a long-term view. You have to imagine how AI will disrupt healthcare, how much value that creates. And on average, if healthcare in the US economy is 30 trillion, healthcare is 6 trillion. It's the largest segment, 20%. If I can improve that by 5 to 10%, that's 600 billion to 1.2 trillion right there, just in the US, right? These are global numbers. So if you go segment by segment, this is the number you get. By the way, that's 1 year number. You have to use the cumulative numbers. So I call it the 100 trillion plus opportunity. I think we are at the very early stage, building the foundation of the house. Data centers are the foundation of the house. When we have devices on that foundation, that will be the house. But then when you start living and doing things, those are the apps and services. So let's look at what is happening in the foundation. So when you think about cloud, think about public cloud, that's Amazon, Google, Microsoft. But then also think about private cloud. Generally, that's called on-prem. Generally, that's at the enterprise. I'm sure UST has on-prem servers, right? Walmart has, and so on and so on. And then I'm showing Edge AI different categories. All of you know about LLMs, right? Farhad, what does LLM stand for? Large language model, right? You have heard about LLMs. You have heard about Gemini and ChatGPT and so on and so on. There is another category of language models called CLMs. That's country-specific language models. I'll talk more about that. There is a third category of language models called DLMs. That's domain language models. Healthcare language model, financial language model, construction language model. There are PLMs, personal language models. Apple Intelligence is an example of personal language model. It sits on your iPhone. Did you know? And these language models provide the foundation for what's in the green, for the apps and services that run, that you and I take advantage of. Anne-Marie, around the world, how many language models do you think we have? Just throw a number. 100. Any other numbers? 200. In the US alone, there are about 1,000 language models. I did a project with a consulting firm. We tracked, this data is old. It was very difficult to get the exact number. But as of last year, there were 1,500 to 2,000 language models. In India, there are 35 language models. There is a language model around Bollywood. There's a language model around cricket. There's a language model around, India has 100 languages and 10,000 dialects. And India has lots of states. So for those of you who have not been to India, when I go from one state to another, I cannot speak in my mother tongue. I speak in English. English is the glue. So there's a language model around all these languages, right? So it's not just Google and OpenAI and so on and so on. It's LLMs we know. I will give you examples of the others. So LLMs, you know, you have heard the names. They have gone from text to multimodal. They have gone from searching to reasoning to agentic. I joke that in the internet age, I would not go on vacation for a week because I was afraid when I come back, I would have missed a lot, right? Now I stopped taking lunch because I go for lunch, right? Another language model will pop up. But these are the big guys. Okay, these are the top 7 or 8 out of the 2,000. You know about this. What you may not know is, this is a little joke, excuse the French. It's OpenAI doesn't just do GPT-1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They also do mid-size models and small language models. And OpenAI has a version of ChatGPT on my phone that works even if I'm in airplane mode, right? So I'm not talking to the cloud. It's local. It's small language model. So on the previous slide, language models are becoming bigger, stronger. But for devices, they are becoming smaller. They are running on device. There's a language model running here on my watch, on my phone, on my PC. There will be a language model on my Nest device and so on. Those are small. But then there are all these CLMs, right? There are 190 some countries. 100 of them, 50% of them are doing what is called sovereign AI. Basically, what they do is like, I did a project in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia doesn't take OpenAI model, translate it into Arabic and use it. Because when you do that, the cultural aspect, the local data, the unique things, you lose them. So Saudi Arabia has its own STAIA has done this alarm language model that is trained on all of the cultural heritage and so on. So I'm just showing an example here. But if you go to India, there is Hanuman. Hanuman is one of the gods. It's called Hanuman. What's the English word for Hanuman? I don't know. Do you know? It's like Bharat GPT, Hanuman GPT, right? India GPT. It's based on its own languages, right? So this year, NVIDIA is doing $20 billion of revenue selling GPUs to countries so they can do these models. So NVIDIA sells to Google and Meta and so on, but they also sell to countries. And every country, or I would say most of the countries, are pursuing sovereign AI, and they're doing country-specific language models, right? We don't talk about this too much. You may not have known about this, but this is absolutely happening. And then, how many of you use ChatGPT to check your doctor prescription? Right, all of us are using it. When we do that, it is based on internet, whatever is available on the internet, right? But the right way to do it is ask the question of a healthcare trained language model based on healthcare data. And healthcare is very big. So there's a language model around cancer. There's a language model around diabetes, because the data set you need to make intelligence about cancer is different from what you have for diabetes, right? So I'm showing some examples in different sectors. There are domain-specific language models trained on that data. Some of them are being done by big guys like Bloomberg. Bloomberg has Bloomberg GPT. But then smaller guys, startups, are doing their own, right? So if you're going to have any of these language models, you need a data center to train, right? So if I come back to this picture, public cloud, generally we think of AWS, Google, Baidu, Alibaba. We are doing computing in the cloud. Many startups and many companies are using that. But then there is what is called enterprise data center on-prem. It is on my premises. It uses my enterprise data. I'm deploying it. Walmart is deploying it. Walmart is training it on its customer data and supply chain and so on. Walmart does not want to send all of its proprietary data to public cloud. Or a better example is, think about healthcare. Think about Scripps or UCSD Health System, etc. Their data is their crown jewel. They will not send it to AWS. They want to run it in a very highly secure, protected way, right? And then as AI devices proliferate, we need smaller language models running on device, right? So all of these require compute. And that's why all of these require data center, all of these require training, all of these require compute. That is why we are talking about 6 or 7 trillion data centers. If you look at this picture, we are going from 78. Oh, I have a different picture here. Basically, what it says is, look on the right-hand side. I think left-hand side, AI workload. Okay, got it. AI workload, as of this year, we have 44 gigawatt of GPU capacity. Okay? By 2030, we think that will go to 156. That's all GPU capacity. If you look at, why is Intel not doing well? Because Intel is not playing in the AI data center. They're just playing in CPU. That's the light blue. Why is NVIDIA doing so well? Because the dark blue, that's the AI workload. That's the GPU center, right? So we are going from 44 to 156. That's 112 gigawatt. Some numbers are mixed up here. But if you look at the right-hand side, basically McKinsey is saying, if we continue to see what is happening, we are looking at 124 gigawatt. So 156 minus 44 should be 124. So some numbers are screwed up. If we slow down, we still need 78 gigawatt. If we accelerate, we'll do 205 gigawatt. Okay, so that's kind of the most likely bull case, bear case. Every gigawatt is about $55 billion. So if you take the 124 gigawatt, multiply by 54, that's 6.7 trillion. So you will see McKinsey, now BCG is copying 6.7 trillion, 7 trillion, worth of data center deployment by 2030. This is where those numbers are coming from, right? So this is not vacuum. This is to support. This is to support the green. Unless you have the blue, you don't have the green. Unless you have the green, you're not reaching enterprise and consumers, right? So some people say, yeah, we are investing $1 trillion here, but we haven't seen the return. When you're building the foundation of the house, the foundation doesn't give you the return. It's only when you start living in the house that you get the return, right? So the opportunity is 100 to 200 trillion in the green. A necessary first step is build the foundation. So that's where the number is coming. That's what the number is supporting. And it's not just Google and Meta. It's all of these countries, all of these devices. So if data center is 6.7 trillion, how much is GPU? So this slide basically says 6.7 trillion is data center investment going from 44 to 150 something. Some of it is construction. Some of it is land. Some of it is like construction labor. Some of it is electrical. Some of it is energy. But server and storage, that's the technology. That's about 4.3 trillion. If we don't do 4.3 trillion, we don't do 6.7 trillion of data center. If we don't do GPU, we don't do data center. If we don't do data center, Waymos and robots will not be able to do their thing. If those things don't happen, AI in healthcare will not happen, and construction will not happen, and so on, right? I'm an investor, but this is not investment advice. So who benefits from a compute standpoint? You know, ASML, they do the tools for the fab. TSMC makes the fab. Micron and SK Hynix do memory. No matter who wins, they win. Then NVIDIA is strong in some places. Qualcomm is strong in other places. Tesla is strong in other places. Broadcom is strong in other places. There are startups coming up. There are people like CoreWeave. Everybody has a role to play. When we are talking about 4.3 trillion compute budget through 2030, it will not all go to NVIDIA. If NVIDIA gets 50% of it, they become a $10 trillion company. They don't need to get all of it. So all these people will benefit, right? Okay, last couple of slides. So all of this data center, what about energy? I need energy to fuel these data centers. So it's very interesting. Yesterday, there was the tech industry and there was SDG&E, right? They never talk to each other. Tech industry is working at 50, 60, 70% margin. San Diego Gas and Electric is working at 7 or 8% margin. Which business do you want to be in? What is happening is with data center, if I cannot power the data center, it's like a dead phone, right? So energy is the growth limiter. And so what is happening is Google and Meta and Microsoft, they are getting in the energy business. They are investing in traditional energy companies. Blackstone and BlackRock are buying energy companies. Any energy companies are excited about new customers. If the residential margin is 7 or 8%, and some of it is regulated, if the data center customer is making 75% or 60%, you don't want to live with 7 or 8%, right? So you can get more, 10%, 20%, 30%. So there is this tension in the air which says, okay, I'm Minnesota Utilities. There are so many data centers coming. I want to power them. I get more margin from there. So residential is less important. But you cannot leave residential. So there is a brouhaha. And because of regulation, they have to keep serving residential customers. At the same time, Blackstone is paying 30 billion or something to do this investment. So if you look at energy growth, the dark blue is how energy was grown flat to power the 100 gigawatt incremental data center. That's the light blue, right? So there is a reason all the energy stocks are going up, because you see this, and stocks are basically risked, discounted cash flow of future, discounted assessment of future cash flows, right? So bottom line, I wanted to give this context. I know D is doing AI and wellness, and you guys and people on the bridge, you might be working on AI and healthcare, AI and sports, and AI and education, and so on and so forth. So when you read $7 trillion of data center, why does it matter to me? The reason it matters to me is if I don't have the foundation of the house, I won't be able to build the house, and I won't be able to live in it. And there is a correlation between the investment here and the opportunity here, right? Okay, and we are running way behind, so I'll quickly summarize. We'll go into detail in the next sessions. So it's good for all of us. If you're enterprise, the blue is primarily the tech industry. Tech industry is investing in, 7 trillion. The green is how the vertical players will benefit. Right? Vertical players are, who's the retail guy, who's the financial services guy, who's the manufacturing guy, etc., etc. Who's the mining guy, who's the agriculture guy. If you're a startup founder, there is plenty of opportunity in the green. There is some opportunity as you go down, personal language model, domain language model, robots, cooling. But if you were to ask me to prioritize, higher is better, right? And if you're an investor, NVIDIA is 4.5 trillion, it will go to 10 trillion. That's like 2.5x. If you are a robot company, maybe you'll get 5 to 10x. It's like public market, Tesla, growth market, bigger. Today or tomorrow's $1 trillion company, $10 trillion company, companies that will generate 100 trillion or 200 trillion in the green. That's where startup magic is happening. Whoever solves cancer, just imagine how valuable that company will be. It's not a given that it will be, My wife worked at Genentech. It's not a given that it will be Genentech or Johnson & Johnson or Medtronic. It might be some company we have never heard of. Whoever solves construction, construction, if you go to a construction site in New York, 100 floors, there are no robots. It's all people. And people, there are tragedies that are happening and we never hear about it, right? So the JLLs of the world, they are kings. Some startup will displace human labor with humanoids in construction and in mining. So if you're a startup, that's where you want to be. If you're an investor, that's where you want to be. Okay, I'll skip this. So some of you are here because of Brink. So thank you, Brink. And we are here to help you. Everything we do is like free. We have many Brink advisors on the bridge, including Benton and other folks. So let's pause here. We ran like 10 minutes over because of growing pains. But if you guys want to leave, you're welcome to leave. I will stay. We'll answer all the questions you guys have. So how should we do this? On the bridge, do you guys want to raise your hand? There's a raise hand feature. And that's probably easier. So in the meantime, we'll start in the room. Questions in the room? I have lots of questions if you guys are shy. Yes.
When you mentioned the thousands LLMs, how many of those would you say are base foundational models versus more like fine-tuned layers like cursor or perplexity? How do you think about that?
Yeah, good question. I'll repeat the question because these mics are not working. So the question is, when we say in the US, we have 1,000 language models, how many are frontier models and how many are, let's call them wrappers? Cursor and perplexity are wrappers on GPT, right? So first, I don't know the exact answer to your question. Second, for every general purpose LLM, there are 8 to 10 domain-specific models. Most of the development has happened in domain-specific in the US. Small models, they are slow to come by. And CLM, in the US, OpenAI is CLM, etc., right? For domain-specific, for healthcare, for financial services, they did their own frontier model. So Bloomberg GPT is not based on GPT, not based on Anthropic. They did their own frontier model, right? And it is very costly. Others like Harvey for legal, they are using Claude, right? So it's a mix of the two. Cursor is using Claude, Anthropic, right? Perplexity, you can plug in any frontier model. So it's a little bit mishmash. We are so early. Anthropic is only 3.5 years old. Right? They were formed in like Q3 21, 4 years old, right? So these things, it will take time before things settle down. Other questions in the room? Yeah.
Yes, you have a question about
Yeah.
the bubbles aside, most technology goes for high side.
Yeah.
So where would you say we are? Me for free the people in place next.
Yeah. Yeah. So the question is, if we are not in a bubble, maybe that's not the right wording. Are we in a hype cycle? Where are we in the hype cycle? Are we exaggerated expectations, etc.? Right? That's a good question. Here's how I think about it. If you take a 10, 15, 20-year view, we are underhyped. I'm talking about 100 trillion, 200 trillion. NVIDIA started talking about it 3 weeks ago. Most people are not talking about that. When they say 7 trillion data center, people think, oh, that's bullshit, right? If you take the long-term view, if you assume the global economy will benefit 5% in 15 years, that's 125 trillion. So if you take the long-term view, AI is underhyped. We will exceed expectations. If you take the short-term data center investment, no, we are not exaggerating. This is what is needed. Google is spending $100 billion from more than $100 billion cash they are generating. It is not overhyped. Where there is hype is AI to do this marketing, to create an ad. In the green, there are 25 companies in Silicon Valley going after that. 1 or 2 will survive, the other 23 will die, right? That's the nature of startup. I don't call that a bubble. If you look at in the blue, you know, I grew up in the chip industry. I was at Intel for 20 years, Qualcomm for 10 years. There's a reason for the last 30 years, exactly this many chip companies were successful independently. Last 30 years. They were either bought or they ran out of money. Right now, there are 11 or 12 chip startups. They have raised 300 million, 500 million, 700 million. You know, Grok, Sambanova, Sima AI, Cerebras, Positron, TenstorRent, etc. We are not going to go from 4 or 5 chip companies to 15 chip companies. These startups, 1 or 2 will survive, the other 8 will die. I made my bet on Grok and Cerebras and Positron. Not because I don't believe in NVIDIA and AMD or Google, but because I think they have a chance to go from $1 billion to $100 billion. So eight out of
I'm
10
still on this
chip,
call.
8 out of 10 chip companies, they've raised, let's say, $300, $400, $500 million will die. I don't call that a bubble. So there might be heightened expectation there, right? There's heightened expectation in the green. But if you look at in the green, there are, I don't have the exact number. Let's say there are 25 companies pursuing drug discovery for cancer. The one who makes it will be a $10 trillion company. The other 9 will die. So because 9 are dying, is that a bubble? No, because the opportunity is 10 trillion that 1 or 2 companies will grab, right? So that's how I think about it. I don't think we are in a hype cycle. Like overall, I think longer term we are underhyped. Shorter term, there is hype in Silicon Valley on individual segments. And, you know, that's the nature of the game. People will get washed out. Okay, other questions? Is there a question on the bridge? I don't see. Yeah. Yeah. We'll share the recording. If you want more than that, you and I can talk. Okay. Okay. How is this working? Are people? We still have 23 people on the bridge. Let me go down. Vikas, can you ask your question so everybody can hear it?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thanks for the informative session, Pankaj-ji. So I'm trying to build some models at the edge. So you talked a lot about on-prem, cloud, edge, and a lot of opportunity in the upper funnel. I was just curious about what's the most cost-effective strategy to either fine-tune models or distill models for a given domain. Because given that the edge is very constrained, low power, low memory, everything. So my question is particularly for the edge part of it. And I know you talked about small language models as well. So should startups invest in building those small models, distillation of models, or should they think more like they will be provided, but startups' job is to connect the dots, use them in a proper way, and build the application?
Yeah. Vikas, how many kids do you have?
I have one daughter, 8 years.
Okay. If you had two, which one would you like more?
I mean, I see. I think I know where this is going.
Yeah. So I think my general answer to your general question is yes, there is opportunity everywhere, but you don't pursue a startup or something just because there is opportunity out there. You match it to your interest, your passion, your skill set, right? So somewhere in there is the answer. But I have a difficult time prioritizing one versus the other without that context. So reach out to me, we can take it offline.
Sure. Can I take 30 more seconds or maybe we're short of time?
Yeah, go for it.
No, I just wanted to clarify. Maybe I didn't say it right. I think my question was long-winded.
Is it the same question? Let's take it offline so we can have more questions.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, all right. Steve Pattison, you want to ask your question so everybody can hear it? Maybe Steve left.
Sure, Pankaj.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just actually, from my perspective, because I'm an active investor and I see so many AI deals every week, you can't imagine. But I still think the best opportunity, maybe this goes back in history to the gold rush days where you're better off selling picks and jeans than you were out mining for gold. The best opportunity is at the core, which means foundries and chips, and maybe one level up into editing, vibe coding, editing. There's a whole layer there that's interesting to me. By the time you get to vertical apps, it's tough for me because you can generate a vertical app very quickly, which is cool. I love that about AI, but they're not very defensible. Unless you've got a proprietary database you're generating that you can mine, or you're racking up so many users, you just got so much momentum, your business might be worth something. But I see a lot of people, in my view, a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money at the app layer. Do you share that perspective, or how do you come out on core infrastructure versus editing layer versus app layer?
Yeah. So we can disagree on opinions. We cannot disagree on facts. For the internet, what's the value that Intel and Cisco created versus Google, Meta, and Amazon? The first category is core layer. The second is app layer, right? So in hindsight, that's easy to answer. I think the same thing will happen here. That does not mean NVIDIA is overvalued and NVIDIA should be 100 billion. That means if NVIDIA is 5 to 10 trillion, the green will be 100 to 200 trillion. I agree with you. Most companies will go out of business. Most startups will go out of business. But I cannot talk to any doctor with a straight face and say, whoever solves cancer, and it will be solved, is not as valuable as the guy doing the chip, right? Or autonomous vehicles. You know, in the US, every year, 40,000 people get killed because of driver error. The goal of Waymo and Tesla is not to replicate the human driving, because then the machine is driving and you're still, 40,000 people are still dying. The goal is to take that number from 40,000 to 4,000 to 400 to 0 one day. How valuable you think that is? Right? I can give many examples. So I would not underestimate the green. That's different from saying if there are 25 companies pursuing brain cancer, 24 will die. That's the nature of the game. But the one who succeeds will be the Meta or the Google of tomorrow. So as an investor, I'm looking for the one, right? I will not always find it, but if I find it, that's the game changer. That's why so much money is going in the green right now from a venture perspective. Let's keep moving. Any other questions in the room? Rich, what's your question? Okay, maybe Rich dropped. But his question is, what about nuclear? And the answer is yes. China has 140, 150 nuclear plants. US has single digit. US stopped doing nuclear because of whatever reason. It's coming back. Because if you have to start choosing, okay, this is another way to describe it. Do you want to cure cancer or do you want to cure diabetes? If you have to pick one, which one do you pick? That's not a good question, right? I want to do both. So I need data center for that, and I need energy for that. So whoever is religious about no coal, no solar, no nuclear, that argument is out the window. That's why we are seeing so much renewed interest in nuclear. Yeah.
I think we'll sort of around that. So we think about when Henry Ford and others like the automobile, an energy surplus at the time was a distribution, right? No gas station. And it meant not necessarily what that. And when you look at Tesla, you drive your Teslas around the country. We're not short of electricity for that. This seems to lift that, right? Getting bigger around distribution issue, power issue, power. So are these companies investing in and then later on we have a different political plan, right? Renewables are persona non grata right now, right? Huge solar panel plants in Nevada, which is so don't want offshore turbines. Do you see some of those peers investing in traditional energy. They need technology. Solar and wind.
Yeah, so short answer to your question, yes.
Fusion.
The US is investing in all of the above. China is investing in all of the above. India is investing in all of the above. We have to take, couple of weeks ago, I was in Istanbul. I said this, and this caught fire. And I was on Bloomberg TV, and next to me were Trump and Erdogan and Elon Musk. I'm like, how did I get on Bloomberg TV? I said, what we do this decade will determine how we live in this century. That's kind of the attitude I have, which is we have to think in decades, not presidential terms, not a year. This 100, 200 trillion I'm talking about, it's a 15-year assessment. If you take the long-term view, I've had 20 managers in my life. I don't remember them. I remember what I did. I remember the companies I worked at. Politicians come and go. This transcends one president, one term, etc. I'll go back to if the prize is take 40,000 deaths a year to zero. What are you, not you, what are we not willing to do? I will fix distribution, I will fix energy, I will fix everything that gets in the way. And that's very exciting, right? Let's.
My magic wand.
Yeah.
But I don't have $5 billion.
Different people do, and they are investing.
Right. So
right.
Are some of those companies like Meta, are they foreseeing this? Are they putting
Yeah. Yeah. I would say Meta has at least as smart people as us. They are doing the right thing. So we can be skeptical and snicker at Zuckerberg and so on and so forth. But they are changing the world, including this one. Let's keep moving so we don't have a one-on-one, okay? All right, there are two more questions on the bridge. Benton, Vikas we covered. Steve we covered. Benton, you have a question?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave it to other people today.
Okay. It's been a long day. We can pause here. Any other questions in the room? We can continue one-on-one. Yeah, Farhad. Huh? Yeah, Farhad, why do recessions happen? People mess up, right? AI is not immune to that. People will mess up, right? But we have had in our lifetime, in my work lifetime, we had the 2000 recession, the 2008 recession, the 2020 recession. If I had bought, okay, we'll end with this, okay? If you bought $1 worth of gold in 2009, how much money will you have in the pocket today? Just give a number. 100x, it's about 10x. If you bought Bitcoin for $1 in 2009, how much would you have today? 110,000. Pratisha, what do you think? 110,000. What do you think?
Was like 50 cents or something, so, you know.
You will have north of $100 million. If you bought $1 of NVIDIA, how much would you have today? If you bought $1 of Google when it went IPO in 2004, how much would you have today? So recessions come and go. We cannot say internet was a failure because there were 2 or 3 recessions along the way, right? So with AI, we'll have a recession. The economy in Q2, the economy grew 2.8%. People are saying 40% of that was AI. I'm just using 5 to 10%, right? So there will be bumps along the way, but you have to take the long-term view. Long-term view, AI is under hype, and I'm not the only one saying it, right? So my test is, people say we are in a bubble. NVIDIA is in a bubble. NVIDIA is crashing. I said, okay. Are you in NVIDIA? Yes. Why don't you sell everything you have? No, I don't want to do that, right? That shows conviction. If you have conviction, your actions meet your words. If you don't, you're just playing a game. Okay, guys. On the bridge, we had 30, 35 people at the peak. Right now, we have 15. So thank you for staying. Next time, we have to do a better job with this IT thingy. But I hope this was useful. And thank you for coming. Next one is in 2 weeks, Monday, November 3rd, 4 p.m. To get the best experience, please come in person. Thank you. Bye.